Good morning. Oh, that was nice. A nice connected energy. All right. Y'all know already. You ready? I see that. It is really one of the great blessings of my life to be able to be a friend of Unity and to be able to share in this Unity space. I really love that atmosphere that is created by Unity. So in the tradition that I come from, the first thing we do is always honor the presence of a true and living God, and that is unity, just honoring the presence of God. We also try to keep a connection to honoring our ancestors as well, knowing that all of us came through somebody. We're not here as an extension of ourselves. And the very genes in our body, the blood comes from, someone. And so we honor our ancestors and we give thanks for them. But we also honor what we call the living libraries to make sure that there's an ongoing conversation with those people who have lived a little bit longer than us, have had a few more experiences than us, so that, we don't think that knowledge just comes from books. So we honor our elders. And so that means if you over 57, you're an elder. So we would like all of our elders to please stand, if you don't mind. And so all of us who are 57 or under, the important thing is to look and see who these living libraries are and make it your business to try to have a conversation because they have stories. Things didn't get the way they are by magic. You know what I'm saying? People and caused those things to happen, and these are the people that were there. And so let's make sure that we take the time to get their story. In our tradition, we request permission from the elders to begin. Permission from the elders to begin. Thank you. All right, you can have a seat. That is a important part of our tradition because we want to keep, as difficult as it is, we want to keep this connection to the presence of God. And as you know from meditation, this connection comes, you have it, and then before you know it, you get caught in the cross current and it's gone. And our goal is to try to bring ourselves back to it. And so I wanted to share this. You said something interesting, Mary Beth, about our vision. You said we're working on it. It's not here now, right? And I remember I'm a member of the Folk Art Guild. The Folk Art Guild is a group of craftspeople that come together and they practice the connection to the presence of God through craft. And so I'm not a crafts person. So when I became part of the guild, I was learning many different crafts. But the thing I found in common with the crafts that they helped me understand about vision was that in the crafts, for example, if we were making a vase, doing pottery in the pottery craft, they said that what we were creating actually already existed right here, right now, right? And I didn't get it at first, right? It's like this vision we have of a world of love, peace, and abundance for all. Part of us have to know that time, is really simultaneous. I mean, it's all happening all at the same time. So what they helped me understand is that the crafts person had to have the ability to see it, the outcome, in a different dimension of time. But that different dimension of time was still now. It's still right now. It exists for them. That thing they're creating actually already exists. It exists in a different dimension. We're working to bring it into a dimension where more people can see it than just us. But part of that requires us to see it now. The painter, You know what I'm saying? You know, the artists, they have to see it now. And they working to help other people to see it. And so our vision, a world of love, peace, and abundance for all, wow, we experience that every time we together. It's here, now. And the real work is to bring people into the experience of it, to be able to see it. The same thing the craftsperson is doing. They have this beautiful thing they see, this beautiful piece of art that they see. They want other people to be able to see it. And so appreciating our experience of the vision of unity, I want to talk to you today about the same thing I talk about every time I talk, no matter where I'm at in the country. I had a revelation. My personal revelation happened as a result of listening. And so I've learned that you can't exhaust it. The first challenge, though, is being able to learn how to do it. Most people assume they can listen when listening is probably one of the most difficult things we attempt to do. But because we assume we can do it, we don't appreciate the difficulty associated with being able to actually, connect to a person in a way that they feel heard. You know what I'm saying? So listening really is not about us. Listening is about the other person. And it's an experience they have when you actually do it. If you could actually listen, maybe if you could do it, do you remember the last time you were listened to? The last time you felt heard? Somebody like just, you know that you got out what you was trying to get out and they got it. It's a real experience. It's a powerful experience. And so I'm going to talk about, I'm going to come from a title that we who have ears, let us hear. Listening for a change. But before I do that, I want to kind of build a bridge from Reverend Mary's, at least the last lesson I saw. Last lesson I saw she did was Let Go of the Story. A couple weeks ago, she did a story called Let Go of the Story. And I really want to build a bridge from that. And so let me build this bridge this way. Anybody here know who Jim Carrey is? Y'all know Jim Carrey? Everybody know who Jim Carrey is? Jim Carrey is a comedian, but he's an actor. But he played there's a documentary out about a movie, a documentary called Man on the Moon. Anybody seen the documentary Man on the Moon? Yeah, some people saw the documentary. So it's really about him, he was doing a documentary about Andy Kaufman. Anybody know who Andy Kaufman is from Taxi? So Jim Carrey is a documentary about him playing Andy Kaufman. And so what he does when he plays Andy Kaufman, he does something called method acting. Anybody know what method acting is? Nobody here has ever heard of method acting. All right, so what is method acting? Somebody just share what you'll understand the method acting is. You're participating as a certain type of person or a certain role. Yeah, and so in method acting, once you take on the character, you don't take it off. So once you decide, he said, I'm gonna be Andy Kaufman, he put down Jim Carrey, and literally when he went home, when he was off the set, he stayed Andy Kaufman. He studied Andy Kaufman, and he became Andy Kaufman. That was the character. So he decided to method act Andy Kaufman. So he went and he studied them. He went and talked to his family. He went and watched his movies. And so once he went onto the stage to start playing the character, he didn't let it go for 6 months. So for 6 months, he was Andy Kaufman. Now, the directors and everybody was getting frustrated because they wanted to talk to Jim sometime. They didn't always want to talk to Andy Kaufman. They want to say, cut, go back to being Jim. He's like, no, I'm Andy, you know what I'm saying? And it got to the point where people who knew Andy Kaufman got scared because they thought, wow, this guy has become Andy Kaufman. You know what I'm saying? He had got that good. And so this documentary, Man on the Moon, is about this, right? So I'm gonna just cut to this short because I only want to use that to make a point. After the movie was over, Jim Carrey was faced with becoming Jim Carrey again. And when he went to pick up Jim Carrey again, he realized that he hadn't been that for 6 months. And he realized as he began to pick up Jim Carrey had all these problems that he hadn't had to deal with for 6 months. And he didn't want to pick the problems back up. But everybody kept talking to him like he was Jim. And he felt like he had a choice. I don't have to be Jim Carrey again. I've been not Jim Carrey for 6 months. I can be beyond Jim Carrey. And so he refused to fall back into the pattern of Jim Carrey. But all the people around him got extremely frustrated. They needed him to be the Jim that they knew, and he refused. He said, I'm not limited to that. I'm not limited to being the patterns that I've been in my life. I've experienced myself beyond those limiting patterns. And I have other possibilities. And I'm going to explore those other possibilities. What do you think the people around him started saying? Don't do it. Stop. Be yourself. What does that mean? Yeah, they literally start saying he was crazy. If you go look at the media, they saying Jim Carrey has lost his mind, y'all. But it's interesting. Think about that for a minute. Did he really? Did he really? Or did he find something that was lost? Reverend Mary talked about this lesser story giving way to a greater story. But sometimes we get trapped in this lesser story. And if we don't find a way to let go, we stuck repeating the patterns of the lesser story. And that this effort, she described it as being aware of our inner state. This connection to God that we have beyond our lesser story, beyond the limiting patterns of our past. This connection to God that we have can open us up to a greater story, a greater experience. And so part of what I want to share, she shared a statement from Emma Curtis Hopkins where she said we have to remove the glue. All of your affairs, as you look at them, represent our former way of thinking. They are held together by glue of former ideas. Jim Carrey was held together by the glue of how he perceived himself he used to be. But when he was liberated from that, he couldn't fit back in there no more. But everybody tried to stuff him back in there. Go back to who we could predictably know what you're going to do. We know how you're going to respond as Jim. This new person, we don't know that person. We don't know how you're going to respond. And so they had to deal with him authentically. They didn't want to deal with him authentically. They wanted to deal with him predictably. And that's kind of all of us living in our lesser story. We live in a way to make people comfortable. But we won't acknowledge this greater experience that God is present in us. That's a heavy thing to carry. That God is present in your brother or your sister. That's heavy. It's easier to pull yourself back down into, all the patterns of who they've been, all the shortcomings, all your memories, to limit them to that. It's harder to see as you're interacting with them that, wow, here is an expression of the presence of God talking to me. And if I could find a way to actually listen to them, I might be able to connect to the presence of God within them. And they might be able to connect to the presence of God within me. And we both give up this lesser experience for a greater experience. So what I want to do is I want to take a minute and I want to practice that. We talk about it a lot, but part of my ministry work is to have experiences. I don't want to limit it to just the word. I want to see how we could say yes to the presence of God in our experience. So what I'm going to do is my grandmother said to me, you learn to dance by doing the dance. What was she saying to me? What was her point? Stop talking about dancing. Stop talking about you like it. Just stop. And do what? Dance. That's all. Just dance. If you know it, do it. You ain't got to talk about it. Just be about it. And so I want us to practice listening. So I'm going to do these 3 exercises, 1 of which you know, 2 of which you don't, so we can put this into practice, right? So I'm going to come off the stage. Somebody must have knew that because they gave me a portable mic, which is right on point. And I'm going to have a conversation with you that I always have. I always have the same conversation. Is it possible for you to hear me and not listen to me? We are convinced, as they say, we're fully persuaded. But why? How is it that you can hear me but not listen to me? How is that? Yeah, do that. What's the answer to go with that? So here it is, a transmission take place. You know what I'm saying? I'm transmitting, and you say we don't allow. Why not? Wait. Somebody said because we don't want to. While we're trying to receive, our own stuff pop up. And now we caught up in the cross current of our own stuff. So the person is transmitting, what's happening with their transmitting? As a matter of fact, y'all, I know I'm not going to get to this. I apologize. But I'm going to show y'all I do. I really do, right? I have a sermon here. I have a lesson here written out. And it has a scripture basis. And it comes from the scripture, Matthew 13:9, where it says, he who has ear, let him hear. And it's about Jesus in the parable of the sower. And he talks about the different types of soil. I'm not going to get to that. I already know that already, okay? But he's talking about what you just talked about in terms of why it's coming in is landing on a certain kind of soil. Some of it is for sure. So we represent a certain type of soil while we're listening. Some of us, while people are talking to us, we're the path. So what happens to the seed that lands on the path? Who said we ain't listening because we don't want to? That's the path. People giving you seed, you're there to listen to them. You're blessed with an opportunity to connect to the presence of God within them, but you're the path right now. You're not taking nothing in. As a matter of fact, while they're talking, what are you doing? You're literally thinking about something else. You're literally not even present with them. You look like you're listening. You can even shake your head to make it appear that you're listening. But you're really shaking your head because you're enjoying where you're at. Listening is hard, everybody. When people begin to talk to us, it triggers something inside of us. And now when that thing that they're saying triggers something inside of us, our challenge is, can we let it trigger it, let it go, and stay with the person? Stay listening. Can we do that? Woo, thank you. Why does it take so much practice? Yeah, literally, you call it monkey mind. You know what I'm saying? It's really, but people think they're listening. So they don't practice. So they actually go on day to day interacting with people, never ever listening to them, or very rarely listening to them. Matter of fact, we get to the point where we're talking to each other and nobody listening to nobody. No connection to God, the greater story, is made in the whole conversation. We go through the whole conversation without a real connection to the other person. Because it requires at least one person who is connected to the presence of God. Because that's really what that vision statement is about. We show up connected to the presence. Because if you go to the statement before that, the one, what was the statement before that? What's the slide before that? Where we talked about there is only one presence. And when we connected to that one presence, what do? We have the possibility of bringing that person who is not aware of that presence into it. So let's practice doing that. Here we go, everybody. I'm going to make an effort to bring you into the presence in a conversation. But the first thing I got to do is show you that you're not in the presence, because you convinced yourself that you are. And so if you are, you are. But if you're not, you need to know that you're not. Because when you think you know, what does that mean? You don't know. There you go. If you don't know, you at least want to know you don't know. The worst position to be in is to know something or to think you know something and you really don't. Okay, so here we go. Tell a story. The first story you know. I've done this story at least 10 times. All right? You know it already. All right? I know everybody who's been here heard me before. How many people heard me speak before? Okay, most people. How many people haven't heard me speak before? Okay, so 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. 5 people this is new for. Everybody else heard a version of this, all right? This is a listening story for the new people, okay? All I'm doing is I want to make sure you're not just hearing me, but you're actually listening to me. So what do you do if you know the correct answer? I want you to raise your hand. I don't want you to say it out loud. I just want you to raise your hand. What do you do if you know the correct answer? Raise your hand. Do you say it out loud? No. All right, here we go, everybody. First story, all right? Mary's mother has 3 children. The first child's name is April. The second child's name is May. Raise your hand if you know the name of the third child. Now, here's what's important, everybody. Is everybody's hands raised? Should be, but everybody's hands not raised. The lesson is, we who have ears, how many people got ears? All of us got ears. So we trying to get it to where we all can hear. All right? We trying to get it to where we all are listening. So we want to get everybody's hand raised. Okay? Now, here's the point. Do you know the name of the third child? You do? You think so? Let me see. Wait. All right. Okay. So she said the name of the third child is June. Is June the name of the third child? Now, here we go, everybody. This is what I mean by she knows the name of the third child, but she don't know that she know. We know she know. So here's the question. If you know something and you don't know that you know, do you know? Oh, come on, y'all. We did this before. Okay, wait, listen. Y'all not hearing me. I'm going to connect what I'm saying. If you know something, but you don't know that you know, do you know? Here, I'm going to make it in clear terms. You got $1 million in the bank. You don't know it. How much have you got in the bank? $1 million. Because you are not aware, don't mean you don't know. It's just not in your awareness. And so what we're making an effort to do is taking something that you know. See, whether you're aware of it or not, you know that you're connected to the presence of God. Subconsciously, you know that. Subconsciously, everybody know that they're not out here animated on their own. Something is animating them. But they don't know that they know. They're not aware. So those of us who do know have to do this work of helping people become aware of what they already know. So I'm going to do the story one more time, okay? And so what I want you to do is just listen to me now. I want you to go to listen level 2. Not 1, listen level 2, okay? You ready? All right. All 5 people. You second one, third, fourth. Who's the 5th person that haven't heard me before? Okay, 5, okay. So I want y'all to listen at a different level now. But tell the same story again, okay? Y'all ready? Mary's mother has 3 children. The first child name is April. The second child name is May. What is the name of the third child? Don't say it out loud. Raise your hand if you know. No, I'm talking about the 5 people. Do any of y'all know? You know now. Now, did I tell everybody the name of all 3 children? So that means it's in there, right? You've heard the name of all 3 children. So why don't you know? Oh, you do know now. So what changed? Woo, you listened. All right? For the second time, I'm just going to say, everybody say the name of the third child. Mary. Mary's mother has 3 children. You see, listening is there, right? But because if I said April and May, what does your mind automatically do? It goes to the next thing in the pattern. I want Jim to act like Jim. I don't want Jim to have the option of saying Mary. I want him to play out his pattern. People want us to be who we've been. They don't give us space to be who we are becoming. They don't give us space to take that vision and manifest it now because we didn't manifest it yesterday. You made mistakes yesterday. So you cannot be manifesting the presence of God today because who you were yesterday. And we hold people into those small spaces. So we're going to practice it again. All right? Y'all see how I go. I'm going to give you the answer. So if you're listening, you're going to know you got the answer. What I want to wake up is our awareness, our attention, our awareness of who we are. Okay? So I'm going to tell a story. What do you do if you know the correct answer? Do you say it out loud? Okay, here we go. Next story number 2. Prior to the discovery of Mount Everest, what was the highest mountain in the world? Now, 1, 2, 3 people, 4 people had a hand raised. Do everybody in the room know the name of the highest mountain in the world prior to the discovery of Mount Everest? Yeah. Do everybody know? Do everybody know? Yeah, they know. Why ain't their hand raised? If they know, why ain't their hand raised? Why isn't their hand raised? They don't know they know. But
already told them I was going to give them the answer. So why don't they know if I told? Because they followed the pattern. That's what they did. We stuck in that pattern, y'all. For the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead, right? And if I was doing a workshop, I would just extend this out until everybody got it, right? I don't got that kind of time. I got to start wrapping up, okay? So prior to the discovery of Mount Everest, what was the highest mountain in the world? Mount Everest. Why was it Mount Everest? It's the highest mountain in the world. You get the point? You had the information, and if you would have just now said, instead of doing what Reverend Mary said Moses did last week, she said when God came to Moses and said, "You the one," Moses said, "No, not me, God." Why? I stutter. I'm not the one. You can't express yourself through me. We do that. We get caught in these old patterns of who we were. We won't give ourselves the freedom to be who God is calling us to be right now. Last story, all right? Work with me on listening. Work with me on being present, okay? What do you do if you know the correct answer? Do you say it out loud? Here we go, last story. You're running a race. You pass the person in second place. What place are you in? Raise your hand if you know the correct answer. See, everybody ain't got their hand raised. Do everybody know what place you are in? If you can bring yourself into the moment and see it happening. See, if you just try to do it in your head, you're going to say, you thinking that you pass the person in second place, that means you in first place, right? Raise your hand if you think you're in first place, right? Okay, but you see now, that's because you're working in the pattern. See, if you get yourself out the pattern, you will see, if y'all two can come here for a second, right? Come, right? So you in first, you running, right? He in second place, right? So see it. We are running. I passed the person in second place. What place am I in? Am I in first place? Where place am I in? You see? You see? You pass the person in second place, you're in second place. The person in first place still in first place. So what happens, everybody? It's this pattern of thinking that we're in the lesser experience, thinking that we are the name that we've heard since we were born. That name put a lesser experience on the presence of God. You are. We are. We have always been the presence of God, the expression of the manifestation of God. That's who we are. If we find a way to listen to that expression coming from each of us, we create an atmosphere of the presence of God that we can bring everybody into. The fighting in Ukraine, the fighting in Gaza, is because people are trapped into the lesser experience. And they won't acknowledge the greater experience that we all are having. It's those of us who are aware of the greater experience we're having, we are responsible to bring people into the greater experience. That's the power of unity. All of the affirmations, all of the visions, all of it reconnects us over and over and over again. This is a walking, living meditation. This religious expression is a living meditation. We have to keep coming back to this presence. But it's hard, everybody, and it requires practice. And it's better to do it 100 times a day for 1 minute than to do it for 100 minutes consecutively. Our goal is just to keep coming back present when we listen to each other. Keep coming back present, even though it's difficult. I do apologize that I didn't get even halfway through this lesson that I have, but that is what the Spirit gave me to give to you. I want to honor the powerful lesson that Reverend Mary gave about let go of the story, let go of our lesser experience. And I'm even more inspired as I close by the realization that as we end this, we are going to go practice. We're getting ready to go practice right now, going into the greater experience. And let's be a blessing to people that we come in contact this week, and let's bring them into the greater experience the way that we're being brought into it right now. Amen. Thank you, everybody.